Alchemize your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. Alchemize your energy, my friend. Let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light. I love who I am, I'm loving me. Look in the mirror, unapologetically love what I see. Love who I am. I am invincible. I am a fan. My curves and my features, God makes no mistakes. I am successful. I am what it takes. I'm bulletproof. I'm 100 proof, and I love who I see. Because I'm living my truth. I'm invincible, I'm incredible. A star in the making. I reach past the clouds. I'm invincible, I'm incredible. And no one can stop me now. I'm invincible.
Welcome, everybody, to Alchemizing Energy. We are going to be discussing a book with its author, Maryanne Cooper Smith. And let's go over the synopsis of her book. A small rural village in eastern Ohio called McIntyre is bursting with rich history and culture. Maryanne Cooper Smith was born and raised in this unique African-American community, and our hearts dwell there too. Originally established by 9 freed slaves, a thriving settlement grew in population to hundreds of people. McIntyre now stands with under 10 residents. As descendants of the Cooper family, one of the original 9 families, Maryanne hoped to change that. Along McIntyre Road plunges readers into Maryanne's story, traveling into the recent and distant past to examine the birth, growth, and erosion of the once busy village of McIntyre. This 200-year-old community, established by freed slaves on land acreage in Ohio and bequeathed to them by their former Virginia plantation manager, now serves as the home for Maryanne and her family. Throughout the years, Maryanne illustrates the beautifully changing landscape and atmosphere of McIntyre to accurately capture the essence of this dynamic community. Along with the history of the town, readers will also peer into the mind of Maryanne, understanding the relationships that she has formed, the trouble she has faced, and her unwavering faith in God Almighty. Each memory is woven together to create a vivid picture of Maryanne's life and experience as a passionate McIntyre resident. And without no further ado, I would like to introduce to Alchemizing Energy, Miss Maryanne Smith, Cooper Smith, correct? Hello? You there?
Hello. This
Yes,
is
hi.
Maryanne.
Hi, Miss Maryanne. Also, I know you as Grandma, but or Mama. That's another thing we call Mama, grandma, we know you as. But I wanted to welcome you, and I wanted to say, it's amazing that you wrote this book as a person, who actually have been to McIntyre, went to church there growing up. It was beautiful to find out that you wrote this book. So the first question I wanted to ask is so what inspired you to write along McIntyre Road? What was your inspiration?
Well, when my father died back in early 2000, I realized that was the last descendant of the original families. My sister and I lived here, and I was headed out of McIntyre, and it came to me and all that I should write something about this community. And I had an older sister, but she moved to Pittsburgh. So I just felt that the Lord would have me to write something about living in McIntyre, because so many of the younger people had written essays and historical papers about McIntyre, but no one had really written a story about actually living here in McIntyre. So over several years, sorry, several years, off and on, different things coming to me. I honestly do believe that the Lord's Spirit led me to, write down some things about living here in the community of McIntyre. You couldn't consider it as a village or anything like that, or a small town. We just could get community status. So that's really it. I'm the oldest one living here now. I'm 88 years old. So that's really it. I just wanted people to know the joy, sorrow. A lot of every place has problems, but what it was like for me, this is my story, how I felt about living in McIntyre as a community. So, and
So
that's
you
about it.
mentioned that the way that the village was made was because of plantation owners leaving Virginia, and one plantation owner, slave owner, passed on, and he took the slaves and decided to move to a new place. Can you get into that and that whole history?
Well, back there are, ancestors back in, were slaves back in Charles County, city, Virginia. Their owner was Mr. Bedford, and well, he knew he was, uh, very old. He didn't want to leave his slaves, without a place to live and like that. So he had a friend up in Ohio, Mount Pleasant, Ohio, Mr. Benjamin Ladd, I believe his name was, and he asked him to, to look for property where his slaves would, could make their home, and that's where, he found this acreage up here in Jefferson County, up here in Ohio. So, and he set the slaves free and, provide them with, meager provisions, and they made their trip up and crossing the river of Wellsburg, West Virginia, crossing the river, Ohio River, coming into Jefferson County. So that's about it.
You mentioned that they actually travel by horse buggy, and knowing how brutal Ohio's weather can be, and then they actually lived in what you'd say log cabins. They had to build the cabins, or were they already there?
No, no, they had to build them. They came up in as my grandma. She was born in 1882, and she would often, give the story of the ancestors. They traveled by covered wagon. Mr. Bedford, Mr. Ladd provided, provisions, the tools, the necessary things. And this is a place of plenty of trees, and naturally, they cut down, the trees, made their log cabins, enough to get them through the winter, which had been very hard for them. So that's, my
Now I want to
recollection
put this
from
in
what
perspective,
Grandma.
Virginia, right? So you're going from one part of Virginia all the way. I would say McIntyre is almost in the middle. Like it's pretty far by car, let alone it's about
Oh,
30
yeah.
minutes. So imagine like the harshness of that ride from Virginia all the way to the middle of Ohio, and then you have to build your own cabin. And then it's winter, it's cold, it's brutal. So and I'm imagining there was already people that were already settled there. I'm sure that they ran into some issues when they were trying to build their community there.
Um, how do you remember? Was it
Well,
you and your siblings, or how many siblings did you have?
oh, you mean they came up here?
Yes. Did you travel with your
Do
family?
I
Or
have personally? Oh my, no. This is two, three generations before my time.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is that I don't know what time our ancestors traveled from Charles County, Virginia. I don't know whether it's, springtime or winter. And
Mhm.
yes, when they got up here, there were people in the neighboring communities, village, Bloomingdale. He saw to it about the acreage also. And, there were different ones, that would help them, get settled. A lot of problems, but everything. But anyhow, they said altogether there was about 27 that left the plantation and, resettled here in McIntyre.
So it was almost like a free
See,
community for
McIntyre,
slaves. Was it like a
yeah,
free
well, what I
community for
was going to
slaves?
say, yes, what I was trying to say was that was about 200 years ago, and
Oh, okay.
naturally I'm
I
going
got
by,
you.
Wow.
what my
Wow.
grandma says, although although, although I'm 88 years today, this is some 200 years ago as I read in my book trying to
Okay.
recount how life was some 200 years ago. It's quite,
This is beautiful, and
yes,
you are
we're,
priceless, and we are thankful.
That's a beautiful thing to be able to
well,
even have this story because there's not too many people that could even tell a story of 200 years.
Exactly.
So that's a blessing to have you here.
Yes.
Um, did they tell you about how the did your grandma or your mom or the ones that like were older, did they tell of the stories of how like the community was built and how like it was back then?
yes, my grandma Leela, which is in the book, and all the one my grandma that was born in 1882. She was, I believe, a second generation. Her grandfather, William Toney, was one of the original, ancestors that came up here. And so I'm getting information from my grandma Leela. So when which I'm a fourth generation. So you see how far back, that I go. And Grandma, we call her Gram, she would, give us what she knew. And therefore, we just, go with that. And like I try to write about, how things changed from the early settlers and their families, and soon the older ones had passed on. And here there was uh, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and all, little kids down through the years, and how our community, developed over those years. And I don't know where you want me to stop at right now and all, though, but when it got
Oh,
to be
you can.
my generation,
Mm-hmm. Today
I
is
would like
your day, so wherever
yeah,
you
this is
want to
about you.
start
Whatever
and
you want to talk
finish,
about.
yes.
Whatever you
We
want to
we're
talk about.
open ears. Your history, so wherever you want to go is fine with us. Because this is an honor for you to be here and to talk to us.
Well, you know what? I thank you very much for asking me to do this. Is a first time thing for me. So, and I appreciate my son-in-law with Roland, which is Monica's brother, and his wife Jill, which is my daughter, and helped me walk through this. But I just love the places. I sit here now and look out and see the leaves blowing on the trees. A beautiful day, but it wasn't always sunny. And also, I tried to write in my book the harshness of the winter, and I couldn't begin to write of all the things. But Grandma Lilla, she would just tell us some of the things that they went through in trying to keep this community. And it's just, you know, how the first, you know, there when it came to religion, Christianity and all, and they had several preachers, you know, that in the, you know, the older generation, and their first church, naturally, if they lived in log cabins, they didn't have a church built, but they had something called a corn crib, which, you know, housed their feed for their animals, because Mr. Bedford supplied them with, you know, the means of some, you know, animals that, you know, they would need, or either got them, you know, they bought them or traded from the neighboring villages. But in all of these different things and all, it's just Graham tried to keep this story alive in it, that someone cared enough about his slaves to see that they had a place of freedom. And like I said, I wrote this because I felt the Lord, and I'm, like I said, I love him and all for his guidance and direction. I hope just day by day to grow stronger in him, but just knowing that he can lead you. I feel he doesn't want this place to, you know, to just slowly, it is slowly dying out, but not to completely. That's what I want to say. I feel that God doesn't want this place to completely die out. That's why he would have me write these things. I wrote many, many more pages, but all of it wasn't included in my book. And when, like I said, when my dad passed on at the age of 96 years old, and that's been some 20 odd years now, and just the feeling that my generation, which I was the only one, there's another person or two that's, you know, close to my age, that if, you know, we didn't do something and all that, you know, McIntyre, there would be nothing remained of it. It's become so overgrown now. Beautiful thing we do have in our community is our church. We have a AME church, African Methodist Episcopal Church and all, and we have a pastor that lives here, Pastor Melody Essex. She coming in from Columbus, but lives here. And what we do have is beautiful, although my siblings and children and cousins and different people with other families who used to live here, they come in from the different areas, Smithfield, Dina, Dillon, Steubenville, Toronto, different places. They come in on Sunday morning. We still have worship service, and we have a Bible study and church school on the phone. We have a call-in number for, you know, to do that. And we have a Saturday worship service on the phone. But Sunday morning at 11 a.m. is our joy when we enter into our church, Shaffer Chapel AME Church, and have regular service. So going back, that's a long way from the corn crib meeting house where those few people gather. But, you know, down through the years when it came to, well, they had church, a few churches, but in 1927, our first church, which really, that's the one we're in now, we've had different remodelings and things of it. But this is still our pride and joy of our community and our cemetery. We keep that very nice. We did have a couple of schoolhouses, but and which one of them, the last one we had, the kids could go from grade 1 to grade 6. Then they were bused to the neighboring village there at Bloomingdale. But there's just different things that made up a community that we did. We were like any other community to me. We had ball games, different, at a couple ball fields, different neighboring communities would bring their teams in. We had something called Camp Meeting, which came from our ancestors and handed down to the later generations. And it was a campground over on the school ground or property across from that. And it had singing and preaching on about 4 Sundays, maybe in late August or something. And people, again, we were supported by people from other communities. They loved the singing and preaching. We also had a park after the coal mining came in. We were allowed to purchase this land, and it's called Oak Lake Park, the first or the oldest Black, it's private ownership park in the state of Ohio. And there we did so many things, and we have a playground and we have a clubhouse and a shelter, and we would have reunions and just different little, things for the community going there. But again, I love the thing about it was the lake there, a beautiful lake and all. What really makes it so beautiful was that's where the baptisms took place. The church was just down the road. Maybe, I don't know about how many feet, but you could see the church from the park. But when it came time for baptism, that's where the baptisms took place and all. So I love our Oak Lake Park. Everything now, just our main concern now is we don't have the people to, clean up the properties. And, there's so much work needs to be done here. As I say, we keep our church and our cemetery beautiful. The lawns kept good, cemetery mowed inside we have a beautiful, church inside and out. But just think of what I could remember when I was a teenager. There was over 200 people lived in McIntyre. But after my generation and, married and all, we had our children. Well, thank God that our children, with time had come, as they say, grants and with having, scholarships and school. You could, for school, borrow the money for school. Our children, they started going to college, and gee whiz, it's just wonderful to think of the wonderful things that we have. A couple of physicians, we have engineers, we have nurse practitioners, we have registered nurses, we have social workers, we have lawyers, and just those other things too, people in graphic arts. And there's other things that I'm not familiar with, but we also have people, some of the young people that didn't go away to college, that, every place needs a handy man, we call it repairman, and, able to do things like that. And so, that being said, my children and everybody else has moved away, in which the older people died. Like I said, my dad, when he passed away, he was the oldest one, and now I am the oldest one. But we're so thankful that our children come back and here. Well, too, like Joe and Roland are here today. They come out to church every Sunday, hardly miss the Sunday, and they come down, we have dinner, and they help me with things. And So do everybody else's children. They come in, especially on holidays. We just had Father's Day and Mother's Day. Hey, we had pretty full house at church, and today at church we gave gifts to the graduates. We had some college graduates and high school graduates. We always gift them, and we're getting ready to celebrate homecoming the third Saturday in August at our church. And this is when they come from Cleveland, Columbus, Pittsburgh, across the waters. Where? DC, Virginia, just wherever. And it's just a beautiful service. And we serve dinner, just, sit around and talk about who's who. Did you know grandma this, grandpa that, and the favorite dishes. And we're just, we have several young people that have gone into the ministry and all. And I just say Mr. Bedford would truly said that he'd know our community didn't. I say this, and that's the one regret, that we didn't get to have the nice brick houses and, paved streets and all, like we're totally in the country, but I have no apology. I love it. We didn't have that, but we saw toward that our children were educated and taught them about the love of God. And they come back here showing us that respect and most of all, that love to God. And so therefore, our church thrives because of that faith. You can't go anywhere if you don't put your trust in God. I don't care who a person is. Say God, whoever they want. But
here's a question. So this
Jehovah
is the
God.
I'm showing you everybody the church, Shaffer Chapel. I'm not sure if you can see it on your screen, but this is the church, Shaffer Chapel.
Yes.
Did they build this church, like the slaves themselves built this church? Because if they did, that's amazing. It's still standing after hundreds of. Who built the church?
No, they didn't. This was Weems Construction Company, several miles down the road. They built this in 1927. But before this church was built, we had a Baptist church across, the yard from that. And then we had another church across. I'm saying roads because we didn't have streets. It's across the road, up the road, down the road type of thing. So we had 2 or 3 churches going at the same time. But this one that you see on the screen, this is the African Methodist Episcopal Church, and it's named Shaffer Chapel, which was built in 1927 by a construction company, Weems Construction Company. So,
I was going to say, the AME Church has a very strong presence, and I know from Ohio in the community, the African Methodist Episcopalian Church. You became an evangelist at one point, correct?
Yes, I did back in 2006, I believe it is, and I minister's license for local ministry and be able to bury, and different, things like that, teach and preach. And I love that the calling came from God. And, we have several that have gone on into, seminary training and different things. So I feel we're blessed by God always, believing and trusting and obey him. Not perfect, but we own him as our God. So
here's the question. So you lived in a very rural area, and again, winters were brutal. I imagine, like even past the 200-year mark, it still was. Ohio was Ohio. Ohio can get really bad wintertime.
That's what I was going to ask. Yes. What's the difference of growing up then and how it is now? Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, the winters were brutal. I can remember back in 1980, I think where we got 3 foot of snow overnight. that was really a hardship. But back then, the winters were very brutal, as you say, but the people were prepared for that with their bobsleds and all type of things. And I wrote about something too about how it was hard because they didn't have, you don't have all the tight windows and things that people have now, but they made it, no one froze to death or anything like that. They made it. But now the part of Ohio that I live in, our winters have been very mild for the last few years. You might get one with a few, sometimes we get like below zero, but thank God it's not, I wouldn't call them brutal, and thank God when it's over those few days. But right now, this past couple of weeks, it's summer. We've been like the heat wave across parts of the United States. We've been having that 90-degree weather, 80-some to 90-degree weather the past couple of weeks. But like I said, you learn to live. If you love the place you live in and that's where you're at, you learn to put it up with it, because you read and see on the news of the floods and the fires, all types of things, earthquakes that happen all over the world. I feel we're blessed and we give him thanks for that too. Nothing's perfect, but we do serve the true and the living God.
I also wanted to speak to like the rural, because you had farm animals, and people nowadays are starting to want to get back more into the farming rural kind of life, because as food shortages happen, food is getting more expensive, and that natural way of living. I mean, even when it comes down to the water, I believe that a lot of the people from McIntyre have lived to be such a gracious age into the 90s and the hundreds, and you being 89 and still writing books. I believe it's the water. I believe, and you guys have a special kind of water there that when I was younger, I didn't want to drink it because it tasted. You could taste all the minerals and the vitamins and everything in there all at once, right? And I used to try to drink that, and it was called well water, right? So tell us something
No,
about
we
the water.
call it. Well, it's called spring water. It comes from underground springs. Water comes up from underneath. The water levels, it comes up from underneath. Of course, rain comes down, replenishes the water underground. So spring water. And yes, we had a lot of minerals, namely limestone. Today, it's something, the inside of your Kittles and things leaves that limestone ring. But my mom taught us years ago, you can clean that out with vinegar, and things like that. But I have to laugh and say this about the kids, when their grandkids especially, and they'd come out and want a drink of water, and I'd show them the spring and things. But you know what? In the spring, the rocks inside the spring, they were lined with rocks and all, and the water came in it. And there would be frogs sitting on these rocks, and boy, that would scare the kids to no end. But Mom told us, she said, you know what? As long as you see frogs living in the water, your water is not stagnant. It's fresh water. Frogs do not live in stagnant water. And all, but sometimes
wow, never knew that.
Water after rain. Yeah, so to make sure after rainy season, I boil my water and all, sometimes every day, because there's different living out here in the rural area. There's different coyotes, foxes, and I don't know what all kind of things and like that. But you mentioned too about farm animals. When my dad, and we were young, my dad had a herd up to 75 Hereford cattle, and he had a team of horses, which I wrote that in my book, and about that. But Dad did nothing but farming. There were 9 of us, so we grew most of all of our food, the vegetables. Everybody out here had just about everybody had a fruit orchard. And we didn't have to worry about fruit. We had all types of fruit and everything. And we grew gardens, which I do have a small garden in my backyard now, very small, but, and I mean, we grew everything in the meat in the wintertime. We called it butchering. Dad would raise, pigs and, things like that. And once in a while he'd take and slaughter a bull or young steer, as they called it. We had beef, we had hamburger, we had sausage. My mom would can these things. Back then they didn't have freezers, but they had something called a spring house that down by the spring water, and it would keep things cold, but mostly people canned. So one thing I can truthfully say, we were never hungry because Mom and Dad, we had the vegetables and we had the meat and everything like that. So, and right now, although we do, have the acreage and things, to try to put in acres and acres of vegetables, we don't have anyone to take care of that. Our children, they live elsewhere and have their homes, and they're, different places of employment. But like I say, they're faithful to come and visit. So, and they always check on us out here and see, if we're okay. So I, again, feel blessed. So.
Wow. So it's amazing. So you at a young age, and this is the thing that's missing with our youth today and our new generations coming up. We've gotten so attached to technology and just having the grocery store down the street that even as the prices go up in food and this, that, the other, like one thing that you have under your belt is how to survive. Like, you've seen your father have to like slaughter an animal to like eat, for that, you've seen those things living in the rural area. And that's I think this one thing that we're missing is those survival skills, learning how to plant, learning how to like, make up your own food for sustenance.
And that's so true. Like right now, I could go out and pick black raspberries in my yard. As strawberry season comes along, those wild strawberries. We have just so much out there. As I say, we're truly blessed, but I would love to see the place restored. I don't know what God has in his plan, but I do want this book to be a remembrance to those, come after me, that this was a community, and it was a nice community, not perfect, but very nice to live in. Didn't have to be afraid of anything. And our children know so much about technology, and as Roland sitting here knows all about all this type of stuff. I'm trying to learn, but I just, like I said, no, I rely on Roland a lot, my sons, and on to my daughters. They, know a lot about technology. You have to in this day and age. So even little children, they're taught at preschool the simplest forms of technology, but I make no apology. I have loved living here, and I thank God that this was my lot in life. So I've been other places, and my oldest son, he's a physician he's retired now in Honolulu, Hawaii. I've been there a couple of times, and just, like I say, I've got my kids here, and I thank God, and I'm proud of what he allowed them to accomplish. Not only my kids, because I could just, I tell the others that live away from here, you all have your stories to tell, and their children have done really wonderful out in the city with their education. Oh my goodness, it's just amazing, and such wonderful stories of the blessings of God that could be told. So, okay.
One quick question I did want to ask is that, do you think that being in McIntyre kind of like shielded the residents of racism and like having to go through the civil rights that other people living in the city had to go through?
No, with the loud no. We had it up the road, down the road, across the hill. When we left, okay, as I said, we went from grade 1 to 6 up at the little school up the road called, it's one room school called Oak Grove School. Then we were bused to a mixed school in Bloomingdale. We knew what it was like, prejudice was like. We knew it when we went to the stores because we had to go, to the neighboring villages for different, grocery things like sugar and stuff like that you couldn't produce at home. But things like that, and the prejudice down the road, some of them got along all right with us than others, but I was just the type, I'm not too much of a mixer. I don't mistreat anyone, but if I see that, hey, you don't want to be bothered with me, I don't bother with you, but I try to live. If you need my help, I will help you. But yes, we had plenty of prejudice out here, and I can't begin to tell you some of the difficulties that we had and things we couldn't get for our community, how long it took to get electricity here, to get paved road, still much improvement on that, and just different things that normal communities had. Not saying we were abnormal, but because of prejudice and the different people in position that could have helped us, and they wouldn't, because, well, I won't, go into the different, of the words they would say about, knowing we were an all, African American community. That was a nice name to say, but before that, there were the other names that we were called, and by people in position called us those names, even in school. So, plenty of prejudice all around.
Wow. So, now you guys have, how many people live in McIntyre right now as we speak?
Well, we have less than 10. So, but like I said, on Sunday, high day, when the kids and friends and other ones come into our church, for church service, but actually living here 10, like I said, and back in 2019, was it, or somewhere in that area, we did a anniversary, 200th anniversary. Our community was becoming so small. We did this community gathering up at our Oak Lake Park. And what we did, all the names that we could remember from the first 27 ancestors that came up here, we began with their names and on down to that present year of 2019. We had over 400 and put under, plastic. And we have that hanging in our clubhouse up at Oak Lake Park. And we had a wonderful program. We always, would serve something, nice picnic foods. And we did one thing we liked up at Oak Lake Park. We would do our plays. I think one of the last ones we did was when we had some wonderful ones in our community, very good actors. We did a play called, I think it was Leaving Home. It was about when Mr. Bedford called the slaves in and told them that they would be leaving, the plantation and coming up in Ohio. And the Oak Lake Park was a perfect place. I can still see them now because that big lake, when they looked out and, when they started singing, oh, ship of Zion, about the river, I can still see that. And I just wrote so many plays about, the plantation and everything, and coming up here, things that happened on the plantation. And I still, keep those plays. Everybody was really eager to take part in those plays. And like I said, we didn't lack for entertainment, and it was just good. Not perfect, but good.
You see the picture that's sitting here? This picture? Can you see that picture?
This is, yes, I do. This is my mother, Mary Evelyn West Cooper. And on her right there is her Uncle Chester West. A real card, you would have loved him and all. He could way back because he was probably second generation too, Yes, he would have been second generation. And like with my grandma, all of these people, more familiar with the first and second generation and ancestors. So, yeah, that's my dear mom and her Uncle Chester. And this is the sign down below my house. And I live right above that sign. My son-in-law, Roland Reed, he is flipping up these pictures for me. This is another part of McIntyre Road. Anything else?
No, I was talking about like the roads, how like it would take about 15 minutes. Once you get off the highway, it's about 15 minutes of just gravel, and going and experiencing that. I still remember like riding down McIntyre Road, getting, going down there and going to church every Sunday. So this was a beautiful experience that
Yeah.
I was sharing. So, man, thank you for giving us this history. We don't want to keep you too long, because but I want to say, what do you want to say in closing? What the main thing, the main recurring thing I do see is you're saying that there needs to be some help, like with the community. Like I think that maybe by so if anybody get a chance to like go visit, there's only 10 people there, and it looks like there's some help needed, right, with some of the landmarks
Well,
and things like
what? We're working on that, but yes, we could use help of certain type, especially machinery, but I won't go into that now. But, it's just a marvelous thing and experience. I'm trying to think what, that I wanted to say in closing out with this. I appreciate this. This is a new experience for me. And so, but I do appreciate your, asking me to be on your show and everything. And I do have high hopes, and you have to have faith. And I don't just say it. We walk by faith, not by sight. It might look bad today or dismal, but we have hope. Next generation.
If we wanted to help out, like if anybody here, like maybe they have like some machinery, or if there was a list of things that is needed for the community to help them out, is there a way that we can like get that list and find out what you need, and maybe the community could come together and help out in any way?
Well, you know what? Since Roland can get in touch with you, I would have to. We had a concerned citizens group, and I would have to, talk to them and see just exactly, you have to always have a plan. So. And you can, reach out to Roland and let him know.
Okay, for sure. If we can get a list of the things that your community needs. One thing about our group that we do our shows with, we love to help. We have people that if I don't know someone, we might know someone that might have some machines in Ohio, or that might be able to reach out to someone and say, okay, what do you need? So.
Okay, I really appreciate that. And as I said, you can touch once we find out, we can Roland can, get in touch with you. That really is a ray of hope there, and I just appreciate Monica and remember just how nice and sweet you are. I still have the grandma plaque you gave me with the blue bonnet and grandma written right under it. Remember the times you'd come out with Jill and Roland, and you're very talented yourself, and I wish the best for you and whoever's, working with you. And again, I say thank you and God bless all of you. So
if you guys get a chance, please buy her book. It's on Amazon. The link is right here in the chat on Sugar Love's chat. If you can also share that on my chat as well. If you get a chance, please support her. Buy her book. It's well written, man. And I wanted to say, grandma, grandma. I'm trying to be professional, but I wanted to say, please, you surprised me when I read. I was like, the writing is so eloquently written. I mean, you're very well spoken, but I've never known you to be a writer in this capacity, and it was so well written.
Well, I had a lot of help on. Yes, as I said, I had a lot of help, and I believe that God guided me by His Spirit to leave this so people would know this was a very nice community, and we hope to have it restored. So thanks again.
Thank you so much. Sugar, do you have any questions? I'm asking my co-host.
No, not me.
Sugar Love.
Oh, sorry.
I asked the main questions I was going to ask. Did you have any, Sugar Love? Okay, she's on mute right now. All right. Okay, well, she's still on mute, but I wanted to say, it's a blessing to still have you here, to be able to share history. A lot of our historians have passed on, and these stories get lost, along with, the generations that pass, and to take the time out to make sure that your, the generations that come from at least your bloodline, and then you're also sharing this with more generations of people that probably would have never heard of McIntyre, because it's such a town in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of Ohio somewhere. Like, you would never have heard of this if you did not take the time out to share your story. So I thank you so much. And Jill and Roland, you're in the back. I know y'all back there. I just wanted to say thank you for help facilitating this interview. Thank you for coming and sharing with us today.
You're quite welcome.
You're welcome, Monica.
You're welcome.
And Monica, Mom's book can also be purchased at Barnes and Nobles
and Amazon.
Oh yeah, the hard copy can be found at Barnes and Nobles everywhere, or just in certain cities. Or, well, if you can, send me the link.
You can get the hard copy at Amazon as well, too.
Okay.
The hard copy and paperback on Amazon, and my sister told me Barnes and Noble has her book as well.
Well, wow, that's.
Thank you for doing that with Mom.
Oh, no problem, no problem. And I hope more people can get to see this story. I'm going to promote it as much as I can, because, like I said, you don't really get to hear the history of a lot of places. And please go read the book. A lot of times we don't get to hear from firsthand, even 100 years removed, 200 years removed. You don't really get to hear these stories. And so I hope that we can do whatever we can to help her. I'm going to put a thing on my community wall when I get the information of their list, and I might even revisit this story just so that we can let people know, okay, we got the information on what they need in that community to help them with the church, whatever the church might need, whatever we can do.
We appreciate that very much. And like I said, Roland will be in touch with you, okay?
All right. Thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thanks again. You're
So
quite welcome.
What do we always say, Sugar Lou? All right. Well, she always tells me take us out of here, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do it.
Alchemize your energy, darling. Let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. Alchemize your energy, my friend. Let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light. I love who I am, I'm loving me. Look in the mirror, unapologetically love what I see, love who I am. I am invincible, I am within. My curves and my features, God makes no mistakes. I am successful, I am what it takes. I'm bulletproof, and I'm 100 proof. And I love who I see, because I'm living my truth. I'm invincible, I'm incredible, a star in the making. I reach past the clouds. I'm invincible, I'm incredible,